And I guess we'll be joined shortly by Scott and Janet, hopefully.
Yes,
So
Scott.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for connecting.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. We're going to kick the meeting off right now with a approval of the minutes from our last meeting 2 weeks ago on February 3rd. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review the minutes. So if somebody would like to make a motion to approve, that would be good.
I, Thomas Golden, motion to approve the minutes from the February 3rd, 2021 meeting.
Okay, and a second on that?
I, Darren Boston, second the motion.
Thank you, Darren. Any comments, questions, or updates to the minutes? No? Josh, thanks again for pulling these together. Another job well done. Appreciate it. We'll need a roll call on this.
Yep. Ed,
Yes.
Cleone,
Yes.
You can do a thumbs up if you want.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Steve?
sorry, Steve, I didn't hear you.
One more time, Steve.
It looks like he's having some trouble there.
That's fair.
Scott,
I'll abstain. I was not at the last meeting.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you. All right, next item is as a follow-up to last week's meeting, we had talked about inviting our town manager, Michael Dutton, to come and give us his thoughts on Article 6, the finance article. And so Mike has graciously given up some time tonight to spend a few minutes with us. So I would ask Mike to sort of just give us a brief overview of what he sees as the major considerations for Article 6. And then if you have any questions for him, we can get those questions hopefully answered tonight. So Mike, thanks for joining.
All right, well, thanks for the introduction, Ed. I never got an introduction like that, so I certainly appreciate it. So I had an opportunity to speak with Ed a little earlier in the week, and we just went over some of the changes that I had proposed to him. Most, I won't say all because I think there are a couple quirks, but most of the changes are the same changes that appeared, I think, in the 2017 version of the proposed 2017 changes. So mostly what we tried to do here is just organize the section 6 a little bit more logically. I think in the old version, I'll call it the current version, there were dates, I think it referenced an April 1st date or an April date. And then after that, it referenced a February date. So we just tried to sort of make it a little more chronological for the most part. And if you want, I can walk through it, Ed, and just highlight the proposed, or at least what I'm proposing to change.
Sure, that would be great.
All right.
Do you want to share your screen? Or do you want me to put it up and you walk through it, or how do we want to do that?
Actually, I'm not, if you have it and you want to put it on the screen, that would be perfect.
I do, I have it up, and
I don't think I'm the host, so
host
if you can
disabled. Josh, could you allow me to share, please?
Yep, you should be all set to do that.
Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, let me get down to Article 6. All right.
All right, so I think the first change that I was proposing to do is section 2, 6.2. Oops, nope, up above.
Sorry.
That's all right. So this looks like the version that I think you had done as a draft, because this is a little different than the current version. So I think, Ed, is this the version?
This is the 2017 baseline version that we're using.
All right, perfect. So
Ed, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, it's okay.
I think this is the proposed one now, right? Because that comment is from me, and I think I
Well-
had deleted stuff.
No, when he says proposed, he means
Okay.
the one that was from 2017.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry. I
Right,
just want-
So Mike, this is a mock-up version that we're using for tonight's meeting, so just disregard the comments.
Nope, that's fine, that's fine. I just very generally, so we took the provision, the February 1st provision, which has, or currently, not in what's on the screen, but currently is further down in the excuse me, charter, and we moved that up to the top of section 6.2, because that's really the kickoff, our kickoff of the budget season. So we moved that up to the top, and then in the next paragraph, we added the April 1st date, and that is really the only change there. One thing I did want to point out, we deleted, and you may have already done this, but we deleted a provision that said that the regional school district proposed budget as adopted by the school committee, so on, with accompanying budget message, will also be presented to the town council by the town manager. We deleted that because you can't really, the school district is obligated by law to certify its vote on the budget, and the only thing they're required to give us is the assessment. We always get the budget and whatever materials they provide with it. Usually it's just the budget, but really we can't in our charter bind the district. So I didn't. So we just decided that provision probably made more sense just to delete for charter purposes. So then let's see, moving down, I guess we already talked about that. And really 6.3, action on the budget. I did add language, and obviously you've read the proposed changes from 2017. I added language. I don't remember if it was my idea or, the council or the charter review. I just don't remember. But I think it made a lot of sense. So we added language about publishing in the newspaper if required by law. And then, of course, we added the town's official website. We did that because it's a very expensive proposition to advertise. I'm sorry to be coughing in everybody's ear. We did that because advertising is a very expensive proposition. And if it gets to the point, that's weird. If it gets to the point where we are not required to publish in a newspaper, then we would certainly opt to not publish in a newspaper. It's essentially free for us to advertise on our website. Our website gets far more traffic than any anybody reading the newspaper. But right now we're required to publish in the newspaper. That's fine. And then, so if the law changes, then we have that option to not have to spend that amount of money. My version there it is, it's back. All right, so that was really, that was the only major change there. We did, Ed and I had a conversation about the budget to actual assessment, and when the process got through in 2017, that was cut for some reason. I don't know exactly why. I went back and looked at my notes and I couldn't quite figure out why that was cut. That is our practice. That's our current practice, to do a budget to actual, usually in January. Sometimes it's later than January, but we try to do that. So I don't, if you want to leave that provision in, that's fine from my point of view.
Yeah.
There's no problem with it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So again, supplemental appropriations, reduction of appropriations, all fine. I did make some changes to the transfer of appropriations, which is subsection D. It really made no logical, well, a couple of things here. Overall, it made no logical sense to allow transfers of appropriation with concurrence of the finance committee and the town council, and then have to notify the town council in writing, within 14 days. So I think the intent here was to allow some flexibility for the town manager to shift appropriations from one line to another, according to a cap, certainly, and according, for very good reasons. So we kind of proposed changing this so that the finance director, with the concurrence of the town manager, could transfer an amount and then notify the town council within a 14-day period. So that made a little bit more logical sense. The the amounts that previously were sort of pegged at $25,000. This did come up in a council. I think when the council reviewed the last charter changes, they suggested pegging it to something other than a fixed dollar amount, so that 50 years from now, when somebody's dealing with this, $25,000 won't seem like a whole lot of money. So we tried to peg it to something, and Chapter 30B, Section 5 establishes a dollar amount. It's 30B is the chapter on essentially public bidding, but it does establish a dollar amount over which you have to go through a different procurement process than you would otherwise. So I believe right now it's $50,000.
Right.
And so, but when the law changes, our charter wouldn't have to change if we pegged it to something in state law. So that was the theory there. There really is no, there's no relationship between 30B Section 5 and transfers of appropriation otherwise. It's just sort of something to peg the amount to, or an amount that we could establish more easily. So I did mention to Ed that our practice is never, we've never exercised this provision. We've always asked the council to make transfers, line item transfers. Sometimes they do that mid-year, sometimes mid-year and end of year. Sometimes they do it at the end of year, but we never asked the council, or we never have exercised this on our own. So I suspect, regardless of whatever changes are made, I doubt that we would be using this in the future. So at least I wouldn't. So,
Okay.
but that's really all I had on that one. The capital improvement program, which is section 6.6, really didn't propose a whole lot there, other than eliminating the strict 30 days before submission of the budget. So the rationale there is that establishing a very specific date before the submission of the budget is not a bad idea, but we just thought it was better to tie that date to an ordinance so that the council has some flexibility in when they want to see that. So just to let you know, our current practice, and I shouldn't say current, because it's really going to start in earnest. It started last year and the year before, but in earnest this year. But our practice is to present the entire capital program and the budget together. The capital program is not an appropriation, so the capital program really is an opportunity to show the council and show the public exactly what kind of capital expenditures we've got in front of us over the next 5 to 10 years, and how that works. So the funding of the current year, 2021, 2022, That funding would happen likely in September after our free cash is certified, and we've allocated out the free cash according to the free cash policy. So that's likely how the process would work. We wouldn't be necessarily voting an appropriation in conjunction with the budget. We'd have the budget, and then we'd have the capital plan. Once the free cash comes in, is certified, then back to the council to fund the items on the, the 2021 or 2022 capital plan, and then move forward. So that was capital plan. There were just minor word changes otherwise.
Yeah.
And really those are the, I mean, they're not really major changes, I don't think.
No.
And that was about it.
Well,
I'm
the
sorry.
Finance Committee, right?
Right. Fine. Well, the two other things. So the annual independent audit, section 6.8, we rewrote that a little bit. And I don't, so we don't, the council does designate an audit committee. We don't direct the work. You really can't direct the work of an independent auditor. You can certainly request, that the auditor look at specific things, and the auditor usually does ask, what areas would, they pick their own areas, of course, but then they ask us if there are any areas we would like them to look at in particular. And we generally do ask them to look a little harder in certain areas. But this came out, these changes actually came out of the rules and procedures process back in 2017 as well. So
Mike, this audit is strictly a financial audit, right? It's not a complete government audit, right?
no, it's every year we're required to do an independent financial audit. And so we hire an auditing firm, and we've made some changes in how we select that. But we hire an auditing firm. The auditing firm comes in and strictly financials.
Okay.
They will, I can tell you, if they identify, a material weakness, whether that be in management or something non-financial, they will point that out. They absolutely will point that out. So thankfully, we haven't gotten a material weakness, but
yeah,
but they absolutely would point that out because it has an impact on financial strength of the town, and they are concerned with that. But otherwise, it's strictly financial.
Okay.
So then the finance committee, we made, so back in 2017, we went through a period, we still are challenged sometimes by it. Went through a period where we had a very, very difficult time trying to get a quorum of the finance committee. We had a very difficult time trying to find members of the finance committee. So we thought it probably would add a little bit of flexibility if instead of the charter establishing, the number of members and so forth, if we allowed ordinance to do that, similar to, other committees and boards that are created. Recognizing that we will have a finance committee, I think is perfectly good in the charter. I think it highlights the importance of the finance committee and sort of the level of responsibility we give it. But I think it provides a little more flexibility if the council can establish by ordinance what the number of members and terms and so forth would be. So that was the only thing there, and a little bit of the history there. So I think, and again, just a minor change, but on 6.9B, it had said that the finance committee, the town accountant, the town treasurer, collector shall support the overall process. Well, we've got a finance director now that sort of takes the place of that, obviously. So we changed that to the town manager or my designee. would be the ex officio membership. So just makes it a little cleaner. Yeah, a little cleaner. So
Okay.
that's a highlight of the very basic highlight of proposed changes. I don't think there's anything that's dramatically different than the 2017 version that eventually went to press, so to speak. But I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Okay, thanks, Mike. That was good. Any questions from the committee?
Nope.
I can tell finance stuff is riveting.
Okay, well, Mike, thanks for joining us and giving that overview. It was very helpful. And I think it was a positive thing that we used the version that we did because it does include most of the changes that had already been discussed. So that was helpful to us.
Perfect. Well, if you have any more questions or if you think of something later on, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay.
Happy to provide more rationale or entertain other changes the committee might think are good ones. So happy to do that.
All right. Thank you very
All
much.
right. You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
all.
Okay. Next item is public comment. And we will open the floor to any citizens that want to speak. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. And there'll be no real dialogue with the committee members. So Carlton, you raised your hand.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to make one quick one. In your agendas, could you ask Josh to please include the title of the sections you're looking at? I don't know what section IV or VI, whatever means. So that would be helpful to the public to know what you're speaking to. Secondly, looking at all the city changes, I think you could remove a lot of the word city if you upfront define like city council. You could say that the term council refers to the city council and drop all the city words. That's just to go by one, but I think it gets really cumbersome to see city, 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 city. I wanted to say Michael's update that was very consistent with the finance parts that we talked about in 2014. I think those changes are excellent. And I think the one thing that we had talked about in 2014 was having the FinCom, and Michael had suggested the FinCom take a slightly different charge and try to look more at the long-term thinking in terms of management. I don't know if Michael's still on, but that was the thought then, that the FinCom would be reduced in size. And they did that by making it through the admin code. That's good. But the charge was more to long-term thinking than, nuts and bolts, $25,000 here, 5,000 there. And that's the last thing that's very consistent with, and I like the fact that Mass General Law is invoked in several cases because the $25,000 limit, it seemed very cumbersome that a $5 thing had to go before the town council. So that's a really good improvement in terms of efficiency. So those are my comments on this. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hop off in a minute, but thank you.
Thanks, Carlton. Appreciate your input as always. Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Okay, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is old business. Janet, welcome. I see you've joined. Glad you could make it. So the first thing I wanted to do was take a look at the schedule. Tom had asked at the last meeting if we could kind of get a revised timeline since we're now in February and get a sense as to how we're going to complete our task. So I'm going to share my screen. I had forwarded to you all. Why can't I share now? Oh, there it is. Came back up. I had sent out the schedule that I had drafted the other day. So can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So obviously
Yeah.
what I've highlighted in green here is what we've already completed. So starting with Article 5 tonight, we should finish Article 5 tonight. It's a short one, so I don't have any issues, I don't think, getting that one through. And we'll start Article 6. Article 6 is one of the biggest articles. So My feeling here was at least a couple of weeks or a couple of meetings, which would be, maybe 2 meetings, maybe 3 meetings. So I put it out, gave us the benefit of the doubt because some of our meetings have been running, longer than expected. So I put that out to the middle of March. Maybe that's a stretch, maybe it's too long, but I wanted to err on the side of, more rather than less. So given that, we would start Article 7 in mid-March, probably finish that by the end of March. Article 8, we would begin the end of March and finish. That's another long article. That's the citizen measures. And I know we've got a lot to talk about there, so I figured we'd have at least 2 or 3 meetings talking about that. That would get us near the end of April. Article 9, probably 2 meetings on that, and then finish up Article 10 on May 5th. So this schedule, which is very conservative, I believe, would get us to the beginning of May. We would then have to go back and make sure that everything that we've identified in the decision matrix has been covered. I've been trying to go back and look at that at the end of every meeting and check off what we've approved. But there are still things that are going to need to go back and relook at and discuss. So I figured we would at least have 1 meeting dedicated to doing that. That would be the 19th. And then we would have to do our final voting, second round of voting. And is anticipating that might take 2 meetings. So right now, I'm anticipating, again, worst case, that we would finish up in mid-June. In addition to this, however, you can see those asterisk items at the bottom there. We're going to need to schedule at least 1 or several public forums to review our recommendations with the public. We're going to need to develop a final report and presentation that would then be delivered at a council meeting. So those items would either begin, the forums could probably begin to happen in May. As we wrap up our recommendations, we could probably begin to have some of those, maybe 2 or 3 like we did in the fall. But in developing the report, might take a meeting or 2. So I could see us easily, spilling into July if we end up going this far.
So Ed,
Yep.
my thought about this was between your decision matrix and the second round of voting, if there was a final marked up copy available to the public for like 2 weeks, before we have the second final round of voting, have a solid document for the public to review, make comments on, maybe on the 19th meeting, and then have that second and final round of voting. Is that kind of where you're thinking?
So if we publish sort of a final version, it's really not final because we haven't voted the second round yet.
Right, but so after we have the second final round of voting, are we going to make tweaks to anything based on public comment? Because then it would seem like we'd have to have third and final round of voting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'd have to discuss that because to me, the second round of voting is final.
Well, that's what I mean,
So-
right? So like, shouldn't all public forums would need to happen before that second and final, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, which is why I thought we could begin to have our public forums in early May. As we start to wrap up, maybe, on Article 10 or Article 9, we could start to put together something and schedule those meetings and actually have them. I mean, maybe hold them the second, third week of May.
Okay.
So we'll get any further input from the public before our final voting.
All right.
Is that in line with what you were thinking?
Yeah, I mean, any feedback we get after that final vote is kind of useless, right? So I just want to make sure we get it all before that happens.
Yep. Okay. What does the rest of the committee feel?
I agree with that strategy. If possible, I was looking and hoping that the forums could overlap with some meetings, but it doesn't look like that would make sense because we'd be voting on the articles. So yeah, that strategy works.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Darren,
think I think this timeline is
Steve,
pretty good.
Steve.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I think this timeline is pretty good right now. So it's a good update.
Okay. Darren.
Yep, looks reasonable, looks doable.
Okay. And Janet.
Yeah, it looks good. I agree with Tom that the public forum should be getting in there, you know, during, obviously before the second and final voting, you know, Article 10, somewhere around that time
Yep.
to get the input.
So early May, first couple of weeks of May, we'll try and schedule those.
I know the other thing, Ed, that we had talked about is extending past like a 2-hour meeting. I do think it would behoove us to say, you know, our deadline for pick Article 7, if on the 31st we are not through Article 7, the meeting length will be extended.
Yeah, we could do that just so we keep on course here, right?
Right, like that we already adjusted course once schedule-wise, which is fine. Like that means we're doing detailed work, but to keep us on this real pace, like if we're not going to meet that column C deadline, meetings just would need to go longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I gave Article 6 3 meetings worth of time. We probably aren't going to need that. So we may end up having a good cushion in here that if we run over in some other areas, we're going to be okay, you know? So there's nothing wrong with, nothing bad with finishing earlier than the 16th of June if we have to, right? Okay, then if everybody's okay with this, then this is what we'll kind of, maybe what we'll do is I'll publish this every couple of weeks and we'll track and see how we're doing. Josh, I think we want to take a vote on this.
Yes.
So we're voting to approve the revised timeline. Someone make a motion?
I, Thomas Golden, motion to approve the recommended timeline presented tonight.
Is there a second?
I Steve
Hi,
Purcell.
Good, Steve.
I Steve Purcell second.
Okay, any further comments or questions?
My only question is with reference to the public forums. When will we schedule those? I mean, we have a timeline for the business that we want to try to complete, but do we want to have a timeline for those public forums also so that we maybe can have some advance notice to people? Or
Yeah, I thought we would do those sometime in early May, Darren.
Okay.
It's probably a little premature to set them now, but certainly in the next, in the next month, we can start to lay out some possible dates for those.
Okay.
It would be nice if we could do a face-to-face with some people, but we'll have to wait and see, how the pandemic progresses through the next couple of months.
I mean, as it gets nicer, we can do outdoor events and just sit 15 feet apart with a megaphone. So
That's true too, right? Okay, then if any other comments? Josh, roll call on this, please.
Ed,
Yes?
Cleone,
Yes.
Tom,
yes,
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion is approved.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the other item under old business on the agenda is Article 4 follow-ups. And I apologize for this, but as I was going through Article 5, I came across an item that I wanted to make a change to, and then it got me thinking about something in Article 4. So I went back and looked at that. So I'd like to just kind of go back with you all on this and let you know what I'm thinking on this. I'll share my screen. I know we've already completed Article 4. Let me go back up here. And this has to do with the town manager. So what we had approved previously was the city council shall appoint the city manager by a majority vote of the entire membership of the city council. Since the city council bears the ultimate responsibility, blah, blah, blah. That's what we had approved before. What I added was to a 5-year renewable term and fix the manager's compensation. So the manager, as we know it right now, is an appointed position. And to be consistent with other appointed positions, I believe that the town manager or the city manager position should have a limited term with options for reappointment. So right now, the way it works is, you know, the city manager is hired and is under a contract. It's either a 3 or 4 or 5-year contract. I'm not sure. Scott, you may know.
You're fine.
It varies based on the negotiation.
Okay. Okay.
That's all part of the negotiation, the length of the contract and the compensation. So, you know, those two items can ebb and flow as the conversation takes place.
I see. Okay.
So, and with that in mind, I wouldn't recommend fixing it in the charter because that limits us in our negotiation ability with future town managers.
Okay. I guess one of my reasons for putting it in here, and I mean, that's a great point, is that I didn't want it, the position to necessarily be a position that went on for, you know, an indefined period of time. I know that there are contracts signed and negotiated, but what I felt, and we could take out fix the manager's compensation, but I felt like having the term in there would force the council to at least every 5 years have to look at renegotiating. And then maybe it's 3 years. Maybe instead of being a 5-year renewable term, it's a 3-year renewable term.
Ed, what do you think of it being a maximum of 5 years?
That would be fine. Yeah. I just didn't want it to go unstipulated, because I think there's a risk that somebody could get in, and even though they're doing a good job, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right for the town to have somebody here, you know, indefinitely. I think this forces the council to have to review it and certainly renew it if they're happy with the performance. And if not, it gives them an out. If they're not happy, they can just say, we're not going to renew it. Any thoughts from the committee on this?
Yeah, I like it.
It seems like a good idea. I just don't know enough about it to know what the legality of it or anything.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's nothing legal about it, really. I mean, we can set the term for any appointed position. And I thought, you know, with all the other positions that are appointed, they have terms. Why shouldn't the city manager have a term, just like everybody else?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. But like I said, I being involved in that that negotiation, I'd like to be able to say, you know, let's say that the top candidate that everybody likes, that everybody wants to hire, is demanding a very high salary. It would give us the option to say, okay, you know what? You want this very high salary. We want to see that you can do the job. So we'll agree to the high salary, but only for 2 or 3 years. And then you show us that you can do it and we'll come back to the table. You know, it allows that give and take. And then on the other side of the coin, if you have somebody that's new to the position, they've never been a town manager before, but they're very familiar with municipal government, you know, you can trade off a longer contract for a lower salary.
Gotcha. Right. So you're recommending we just put in the word maximum here?
Yes.
To a maximum 5-year renewable term?
Yes.
And remove fix the manager's compensation, or is that okay to leave in?
I would leave that in there.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Okay, well, if everybody's fine with this, then I would accept a motion to approve this update to section 4-1.
Darren Boston make the motion to approve this update to section 4-1.
Okay.
Hi, Thomas Golden, second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, roll call, please.
Ed,
Yes.
Leone,
yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you all. All right, moving down to new business on the agenda now. We'll go right into Article 5. Here we go. So this is the administrative organization. And pretty much everything that I saw in here had been updated by the previous round of, discussions back in 2017. Everything seems to make sense. I didn't really have any issues with anything. I just wanted to highlight that this was one change that was actually made by the Rules and Procedures Committee here. It says, if required by state law or on the city's official website. This had to do with notification on proposals. So I agree with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's already in the baseline that we have here. So unless somebody feels we should remove it, I think it makes a lot of sense to have it in there. By the way, Carlton's comment about all the cities, I mean, because they're all green, they obviously shout out at you, right? But if they weren't green, you wouldn't see them all. So we can talk.
those used to be town, right?
They were all town, and so they look like they're a pain in the neck because they're all green. But I just think it's okay to have them in there. But
Can I ask a question
Yep.
on that area in pink?
Yep.
When it says or the city's official website, does that mean that they don't have to do both? Or like, even if it was required, I don't know, maybe I'm reading it wrong. I know that if required by law, we need to do local newspaper, if required by state law, or the city's official website. It's or to me sounds like they don't have to do the newspaper. Is it
Well,
both?
state law right now does require the newspaper.
Right, but when it says or,
Yep,
I'm confused by the or.
so would you rather say and?
Well, yeah, because don't they have to do both? If it's or, it means even if it's required by state law, it's or you can do it from the official website. I think would be at the official website if you don't have to be required by law. But I don't know, I'm bothered by the word or, so I don't know if anybody else is, but that's me.
So
I agree with Janet. I think that's a good catch.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at that as if it gets published in the newspaper, they don't have to put it on the website.
Right, so we want
Or
to,
vice
I would rather
versa.
have an and, yeah.
Or vice
So we want-
versa.
so we want this to say and, right?
Yes, because you already established that if it's required by law, you got to do the newspaper. If they're not required by law, then you won't
Yeah.
necessarily have to, or word it in such a way, but I think it's better to remove the or, in my opinion.
Yep, no, you're right. Okay. So this is going to require another roll call vote on this change. Would someone like to make a motion?
I, Janet Hansen, make a motion to approve the change to section 5-1B, B1, what am I on?
5-1B.
B51B,
Thank you.
Scott Pittis,
section
second.
1.
Okay, Scott seconded that. Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, Josh, roll call, please.
Ed,
Yes?
Leonie,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you. Nothing in section 5.2 caught my eye as far as changing anything, so I think it looks good. Now, here's where I had some concern. It was on section 5.3, the city attorney. So the comment that I made here is that the city attorney represents the city as a whole, and as a representative of the citizens, the council majority gives direction on behalf of the city. The city manager is also accountable to the council. Therefore, I believe the attorney should be appointed by the council and not the city manager. So what I've recommended here is that we change it to say appointment. There should be a legal officer of the city appointed by the city council, and I added a 3-year renewable term. This is consistent with other city appointed positions. I believe the city attorney should also have a limited term with options for reappointment. So any thoughts, discussion on this one?
I'm just trying to chew through it and sort of digest the change, because that is a big change.
I think one of the things that I've witnessed or seen over the years, Scott, has been the feeling that the attorney, since the attorney has been chosen by the town manager or the city manager, that there's some sort of a, not a loyalty or something, but there's something that the town attorney, the relationship with the city manager precludes the council from having the right level of oversight, I guess, with the work that the city attorney does.
I think I see what you're getting at, that it's the question of whether the city attorney is the city manager's attorney.
Right.
I
is
can
not-
see that perception.
Which is not the case. I just think this would remove any perception or any potential issues in the future where that could happen. So if you look at B, it says the legal officer shall serve as chief legal advisor to the city council, the city manager, and all city departments, offices, and agencies, et cetera, et cetera. It's really around the appointment and the fact that right now there is no term set. And as we know, most of us know that prior to Mr. Rollins, Mr. Gilday was the attorney for several decades. So again, do we want to put some sort of check and balance in there that, ensures that someone's reviewing, that the council is reviewing the performance of our attorney every 3 years to ensure that that's the attorney we want?
So without understanding the legalities of this, I have some personal experience where what you're proposing is spot on, making sure it's clear not only internally but to the public who the lawyer represents. At the same time, also making it, creating that stopping point to around the term. So I'm in favor of it. I just don't know how this fits into other local governments and the legalities of it, but again, from personal experience, this is very, very useful recommendation.
Thanks, Cleone. I don't believe there's any legal issue here. This is up to us, or this is up to the town to make this decision. And I can tell you, I did do a little bit of research. There are many cities and towns where the council appoints the attorney. So it's not anything new that we would be establishing. And again, what I think it does is, since the council are the elected, the elected body representing the citizens, I think it just gives a better linkage to have the attorney being appointed by the elected body as opposed to being appointed by another appointee. Any other comments? Okay, is someone willing to make a motion to move forward on this?
I clearly mean though. Oh,
No, I'm still just chewing through this. With the 3-year renewable term, what do you think of adding another, maximum of a 3-year renewable term?
I'm okay with that, Scott.
Or possibly even a maximum of a 5-year renewable term?
I'm good with that as
interested in
well.
what people think.
Yeah, I like the 5-year.
I'm concerned we may not get the quality of candidates if we limit it to a 3-year term.
The heck? I'm sorry. I'm trying to use my number key and it's inserting numbers here. What the heck?
$40-year renewable.
Okay, so we're saying a maximum 5-year renewable term, similar to the city manager?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I like that.
Okay, a motion, please.
I, Steve Purcell, motion to approve section 5.3 city attorney's changes.
Okay, this would be section 5.3A.
Section 5.3A.
Is there a second?
I, Darren Boston, second the motion.
Thank you, Darren. Any further discussion? Okay, thank you. Roll call, Josh.
Ed,
Yes.
Cleone,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Great, thank you. All right, we completed Article 5. Thank you all. All right, moving on to Article 6 now. I want to thank everyone who contributed to this. It was a good team effort. So we'll start with section 6.1 and 6.2, which Tom reviewed and commented on. So Tom, I'm going to let you kind of walk through what your thoughts were. Excuse me.
All right. So in section 6.1, it's a little hard for me to read the comments. So I'm going back and forth. Do we need to specify how much before? So I think it was before the commencement of the budget process. If the budget's due February 2nd of every year, how long before that do they have to start? I don't know if we need to specify that or if they just know like how long it's going to take them to make it get done on time. I don't know if the group has an opinion on that.
It just says that they have to
It just
they have to call a joint meeting of the council, the school committee, the finance director, the finance committee, and the city manager.
Right.
And the committee established for the budget process before the commencement of the budget. So the budget commences on, well, it's due February 2nd.
right. So does it need to be at least 30 days beforehand? Do we think we need to specify that? Like,
Yeah. I'm not
I
sure
don't think
that,
we need to specify. This meeting is really just a chance to get all of the players in one room to sit and talk about expectations. What had happened in the past is you would have all of these different players. The school committee would do their budget, the town would do theirs. And the question was, were these people talking? This forces everybody to sit in the same room and say, this is what we are looking at from the start. This is what we're expecting to see as an increase in revenue over last year. So when we go forward with our budget, this is what we're going to be looking at. And, the school committee will come out and they'll say, okay, well, this is what we're looking at as far as our expected increases in expenses in the coming year. And those numbers never line up. The town is typically looking at, a 2 to 2.5% increase in revenue. And the school committee is typically looking at, a larger number than that as increase in expenses.
right. So like, I mean, I'm good with them not having a formal requirement to meet, 30 days before to get input, but I didn't know if other people wanted for government transparency. This needs to happen so long before so people can opine on their opinion if needed, public comment, yada, yada. But I'm good with not changing that. I just thought I'd ask that question. But it sounds like I'm on the same team as you on that one, Scott.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's so early in the process and the budget will change 50 times.
Right.
Between this meeting and the final budget that, whether this meeting happens the end of January or the beginning of January, I don't think it matters.
Okay.
no, I think it was a good thing to raise, Tom. But I think I tend to agree with Scott as well.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I'm gonna delete this comment then. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So the next comment there, I deleted a whole bunch, I think 6 lines because it's literally repeated further down in the document. Does it say in the comment?
No, it just says deleted stuff here is covered below and is redundant.
I think it's in section B, like at the very bottom. I'm just explain the budget fiscal terms for all city agencies. So so at the end of that sentence of this charter, period, there was a whole bunch of text there that I deleted because if you go to 6.2b, it's literally the same thing verbatim. So I just said it was redundant and it made more sense in 6.2b.
Right, I'm just taking a look to see here what you're talking about.
Can you unshare for a second, Ed, and I'll share mine and I'll show everybody. It might be easier. Okay. This is mine. So I deleted all of this because it's verbatim what is down in the very bottom, which is down here. It's the budget message. The stuff that I deleted on the top is the exact same that's right here. And since this was its own bullet, I said it makes more sense to just leave it as its own bullet rather than have the same in 2 places.
Okay, so this is under the budget message. What was the other one under?
The budget, it's literally the budget message submitted by the city manager shall include blah, 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 blah.
Okay, gotcha.
And so why either have it here or have it at the bottom? I thought it made more sense to have it at the bottom, but up here and not at the bottom is fine. I don't care.
Well, down below, there's a specific section called budget message, right?
Right, which is why I left it down there, because it's under that specific bullet of budget message.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me.
So, I mean, my recommendation here was just to delete this.
And you confirm that it's absolutely exactly the same, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone I don't want to delete everything in the middle so you can see it's the same, but that's what I did before is I deleted all this and read word for word and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Okay. If it's redundant, then it's not adding any value, so let's remove it.
Yeah, I mean, so those were my only two well, the question, and then that was the recommendation I had for the change to 6.2 was to delete this and leave it at the bottom.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to accept Tom's recommendation on this?
I, Scott Pidham, move to accept Tom's recommendations on sections 6.1 and 6.2.
Go ahead, Darren.
I, Darren Boss, to second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Josh, we need a roll call on changes to section 6.2 and 6.1.
Ed,
Yes.
Leoni,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet. Janet.
Looks like she may have dropped.
Oh, nice.
Yes, sorry.
Thanks, Janet. Motion was approved. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, Josh. Okay, Tom, can you stop sharing? All right, thank you.
I do have a clerical question. Now on so was that vote to include the other changes, not just mine, right? Like it was the changes that Mike Dutton had in here, like all those changes, right?
Well, we're using,
The 17 version.
yeah, we're using the
Okay.
baseline 17 version. So by default, all the changes are in here already.
Sweet.
But
Okay.
when I talked to him the other day, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything in addition to what was already in here that has come up since 2017. And he did a review and said that basically everything that's in here is current for what we should be recommending. So I was fine with that. Okay, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. So now we move to section 6.3 and 4, and that was me. Beginning with public hearing, action on the budget. I didn't see any issues there. The adoption of the budget, nothing there. As Mike had indicated, this section C had been totally removed by the 2017 Rules and Procedures Committee. It is currently in the 2010 charter, the current charter that we have. And I believe it's important to have a formal mid-year review of the budget. Now, Mike says they do it anyways, but I mean, who knows? If another town manager comes in and decides not to do it, then there's nothing that sort of, pushes that forward. So I like to have this in there. The way it's worded is the city manager shall conduct a mid-year budget to actual comparison showing significant variances for review and presentation to the city council. The mid-year assessment will be conducted on or before January 1st and published on the city's official website, not less than 14 days after the review with the city council. So I recommend that we put this back in as worded.
I like it.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I, Janet Hanson, motion to put C back into section 6-3.
Yep. Okay, is there a second?
Scott Pitt, a second.
Thank you, Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, we need a roll call on this to include section 6.3C verbiage.
Ed,
Yes.
Leoni,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you all. Moving to section 6.4, supplementary budgets and appropriations. Again, I did not see anything glaring in here that was omitted or needs to be changed. I did find a little typo here and inserted the word "the" in front of the city council. Let me see if there's anything further down. We have emergency appropriations. Yes. Reduction of appropriations. Transfer of appropriations was one big paragraph. So I decided to break it out because it had the number 1 embedded in it and the number 2 embedded. So I broke it out as follows. So reformatting the paragraph to break out these subsections. And I also added here, since I broke them out, I added the following may occur. So the way it used to read was at any time during, on, or before the fiscal year, the finance director with concurrence, blah, blah, blah. And it went on as one big sentence. So the way it reads now is at any time during or on before the fiscal year, the following may occur. Number 1 and number 2. So let's go back up. Is everybody okay with inserting the word "the"? Someone like to make a motion to approve that change?
I, Thomas Golden, motion to approve the adding the word "the" to section 6-4A.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Steve Purcell, second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, another roll call to include the change to 6.4A.
Ed,
Yes.
Leoni,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, back to D, transfer appropriations. Any comments on this?
That's the same sub-bullet format, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So again, all I did was reformatted the paragraph and I added the following may occur. That was it.
it looks like you fixed up a little bit of the typos that were in that to begin with. They had a lot of cities next to kind of duplicates, so. But it
Oh
looks
yeah,
good.
I saw those. I took those out. That was my error from before.
Oh, okay. It looks good.
Thanks, Janet. All right, if somebody's can make a motion on this, that would be great. And this is 6.4D.
I, Darren Boston, make a motion to accept the changes Ed made in 6.4D.
I, Thomas Golden, second.
Hey, any further discussion? Okay, Josh, accept changes to 6.4D. Yes.
Leoni,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you all. Nothing on limitation effective date. Everything looked good there. So that's it on section 6.3 and 6.4. Moving to section 6.5 and 6.6, which was Steve. Steve, you want me to continue to share and you can just let us know what your thoughts were?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there was nothing on 6.5. I agreed with the 2017s. And then on section 6.6, basically, I didn't know really anything about a capital improvement program. So I went online and just started researching a little bit about it. And after reading a few of them for the local towns, the only really glaring thing that I could see under the contents was just to add a previously approved projects and their status to the list of what the contents should include. And then, basically you're separating the old projects from the new projects. And that was really the only thing that I could add.
So you're
Everything else.
adding line 3. Is that what you're doing?
Correct. And then on line 4, changing a list of all capital improvements to a list of new capital improvements. So first, line 3 would be the old, and then line 4 would be the new. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess the question I would have is, why would we care about previously approved projects?
Because this is a capital improvement program. It's something that they submit annually. They talk about this annually, and it's for the next 5 years. So sometimes it's nice to be able to see what's new, like what's being proposed this year that's different than last.
Okay. So when you say a list of previously approved projects, how far back do they need to go when you say previously?
Oh, no, just the current projects. Okay, so it should be a list of previously approved current projects, maybe?
Of previously approved? Oh, I see what you're saying. A list of currently approved projects?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Currently approved. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Glad you caught that.
Okay, a list of currently approved projects in their status. So that's what's already in the pipeline.
Yes.
And then the next one, you're saying a list of all new capital improvement.
Yeah, just
proposed.
basically just so it's easier for people to read what's already been approved, and these are the new items that we're gonna talk about.
Okay, that's good. It's good. Any other comments on this? Was that it? That's it, Steve?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
I, Thomas Golden, motion to approve the changes recommended by Steve Scott to section 6-6.
Darren Boston, second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Josh, just to be more precise here, we're doing section 6.6B.
Thank you. Okay, Ed,
Yep.
Cleone? Cleone,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, great. All right, moving on to section 7 and 8. Boy, this is going much faster than I thought. Scott, you had 7 and 8. So do you want me to continue to share for you?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. And similar to everybody else, there's not a whole lot going on here as far as changes. I did see the changes that the town manager had recommended. I did want to talk about in 6.7, essentially the city or town manager prepares this financial forecast, and I don't believe there's any changes in there, but the suggested changes we got from the town manager came under 6.8, and let me get my notes up here. It looked like those were, and he talked about them briefly earlier, about the audit. And it was changing the annual audit from the town council selecting the auditor to the town manager selecting the auditor. And right now we have an excellent town manager. We don't have an issue. I'm looking at worst case scenario, when you have it, the forecast is being created by the manager, and then the manager is then off selecting an auditor. Similar to our discussion previously about the town attorney, I think the auditor needs to be independent of the town manager. And the best way to accomplish that, even though by law, they have to be independent, but even the perception of keeping them independent, the best way to do that is the town council needs to select and hire that auditing company or whoever the auditor is. And I just wanted to open it up for a discussion. It talks about an annual audit. Is annual appropriate? Is that, I think with state law, we need to keep it annual, but I just wanted to open it up for a discussion and see what folks think. I do understand the town manager's comments about, let me find my other, that if it's an independent audit, the town council shouldn't be directing the work of the auditor. I agree with that after hearing his comment, and I think we should strike 6.8, was it 6.8.2?
Right here.
Yes. And just leave it as the council shall designate a committee and the committee shall lead the process of selecting the auditor, and then bullet legs 2 will be receive the report of the auditor. And just pick it up from there.
So Scott, this says direct the work as to the scope of the annual audit.
Right.
And
I think to the town manager's point, I think we should leave it, let the auditor run free. I mean, that's sort of the whole point, is to discover where there are problems. And if we allow the council committee to direct the scope, then we run into that same inherent problem of, you may in the future have council members that don't want the auditor looking at certain things.
Yep.
We want the auditor to be able to look at everything without any restrictions.
Didn't he also say they can, they can't tell them what to be looking at, but they can direct them to maybe looking at something a little more closely if they want?
Yep.
So is that somewhere in there?
I think that's inherent within the audit, is to just point out, hey, these are some areas that we're concerned about.
So Scott, I think there's some value in perhaps having the council provide something to the auditor. Now, maybe the word direct the work is too strong. But if we don't say anything, and then the auditor comes in, and if there are some concerns or some areas of concern that the council has, are they still able to communicate those areas of concern to the audit firm?
I don't see why they would be limited and not able to do that.
I mean, could we say something like, supply the auditor with any
Or add to the scope of the audit?
provide input to the scope or something like that?
Direct concern, any concerns?
Yeah, just to soften it down a little bit, but not totally take away their ability to provide some sort of input.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out how to change the wording of 2. I see what you're getting at, I think, but trying to rework the wording so it's not so heavy-handed.
How about just provide input as needed? Provide input as needed to, they provide requirements, or provide input as needed to the auditor
to help identify particular areas of concern.
Provide input as needed to the independent auditor to help identify any matters of concern with respect to, yeah, I like that.
All right.
Oh, what you were saying earlier about the selection of the auditor.
Yeah, so I left it,
Where does it?
I changed what I sent you, what I sent to the committee for presentation tonight is the way I prefer to see it. What was sent out earlier with the town manager's edits changed in 6-8. The very first sentence in 6-8 was changed to the city manager shall provide for an independent audit.
Okay,
And
got it.
from my mock-up that I'm presenting this evening, I changed that back to city council. Because
Okay.
I believe for it to be truly independent, it needs to be from the council. And then that language is consistent throughout 6-8.
Right.
So, and that's all I have.
Okay. All right, that's good, Scott. Thank you. So we have two changes here. We have this change on line 15. And now we have this change down on line 25. So let's vote on these. We'll just vote on these quickly separately. So somebody make a motion to change section 6-8. Well, let's just vote on both of them together then, okay? So somebody make a
Scott, better
motion.
move to adopt section 6-8 as presented in the on the screen and in the agenda.
Mock up.
Sorry, in
Can
the
you-
mock-up.
Is there a second?
Hi,
Hi,
Steve
Thomas
Purcell,
Golden
second.
will second. Take it, Steve.
Guys got to be quicker.
Go, Steve.
Did you get it? Or
Oh my God.
I have Steve.
okay, good. Yeah.
All right, any further discussion on these changes? If not, Josh, roll call, please.
Ed,
Yes?
Leonie,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet. Janet, you muted.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you all. All right, and last but not least here, we have sections 9 through 11. And Cleone had done these. So Cleone, do you want me to share for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So I didn't make any substantial changes, just some grammatical things. I capitalized finance committee in areas where it presented and then added some commas, but I didn't make any additional changes from that.
Okay. So the one thing that Michael did talk about earlier was the finance committee changes that were made earlier, just so you're aware. Right now, the charter requires a 9-member finance committee. So the change that was made here in subsection A talks about the number of members being established by ordinance, which gives the town more flexibility in situations. For example, if they have a hard time, getting volunteers or whatever, they can reduce the number from 9 to 7 to 5, whatever they want to do, they can do that. Council can do that by ordinance. Otherwise, the charter, obviously, it's much harder to change the charter. So this is a good change. Okay, Cleone, so we've got your changes highlighted in orange here. And the financial management standards and the public records will be published on the city's website. Great. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve Cleone's recommendations on 6.9, 6.10, and 6.11?
I, Darren Boston, make a motion to approve Fiona's recommendations on 6.9, 6.10, and 6.11.
I, Steve Purcell, second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Josh, we're going to vote on changes to section 6.9, 6.10, and 6.11.
Ed,
Yes.
Leoni,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, wow. I guess I really overestimated the time to do Article 6. Wow, that was amazing. We got 2 articles done tonight and we still got a half hour left. I guess we're getting really efficient, guys. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to move on to public comment. Do we have anyone from the public on now that would like to speak? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Do we have any action items for our next meeting? So let me just look at Article 7. So Article 7 talks about elections and related matters, talks about the town elections, nonpartisan elections, all the signature requirements, the district breakout in applicable state laws. So there's only 5 subsections to Article 7. So we should be able to get through that one next time pretty quickly. And then we get into Article 8, which is the citizen participation mechanisms. And that has It has 6 sections, but a lot of substance. So that, if you guys want, I'd be happy to take Article 7 for next time myself. And then we can break up Article 8, the citizen participation. We've got 6 subsections. Any volunteers to take those subsections?
Say that one more time, Ed. I just want to look at them.
So Article 8, which is the citizen participation mechanisms, we have 6 subsections. So if folks wanted to each take one, or we had 3 people take 2, I don't know how we want to break it up, but it'd be nice that everybody could participate.
I'll do 8-1. That's fine.
Okay. So Tom's going to do section 1. Any takers for section 2?
Go ahead. I can take 8 too.
Okay. Section 3, anyone?
I can do it.
Okay.
3 lines, Steve.
It's all right. He's probably traveling, so he needs a light load.
Yeah.
Section 4.
I'm looking at it at the moment. I didn't have a chance to review those.
Janet, you can
Ed,
just.
I'll do 3 and 4. How about
All right,
that?
Steve will do 3 and 4. So that leaves 5 and 6. So actually, we have 7 too. I forgot.
Section 6 does not need revision.
So Janet, you want to take 5?
Take 5. well, I could say 6 too, and that doesn't have any revisions.
All right, and how about I'll do 7? Or Cleone, do you want to do 7?
Sure.
Okay, great. I'll send out an email like I did last time. I'll break out the sections. So you can just have it, it'll be easier for you to work with that way, and I'll just consolidate them.
Okay,
So Tom's got 1, Scott's got 2, Steve's got 3 and 4, Janet's got 5 and 6, and Cleone's got 7. Great. Okay, any other action items for the next meeting? Okay, our next meeting is on March the 3rd, 2 weeks from tonight. Hard to believe. Wow, March already, huh?
So Ed, just a quick question. Given that we're going to do sections 8, 7, and 8 next week or in 2 weeks, how far ahead does that put us on the schedule that we voted on at the beginning of this meeting?
I'll come up with a new schedule next week.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Good thing you got extra time to vote on the schedule now.
Yeah, we do. We do. So this is great. I just thought based on our prior meetings, we were kind of moving much slower. So I wanted to make sure we had enough time, but I guess people are getting more comfortable now and we're having less changes made. So it's moving quicker, which is great.
I think the beginning ones were tougher. I think they were tougher. They're not, this is kind of, some of it's straightforward.
Okay. All right, very good then. So I think that's all we have for tonight's agenda, unless somebody wants to bring up anything else. Otherwise, we can, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I, Thomas Golden, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Steve Purcell, second.
All right. Josh, roll call?
Ed,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting's adjourned.
All right, thank you all.
Good night.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Night.
There.